Okay. So here we go. So there's the question. Solve parentheses x minus 7 parentheses x plus 8 equals 0. So how do we solve that equal to 0? What are we going to do? Notice we have an equal sign. We haven't had that all chapter. I don't know if you noticed that. This is different. We have an equal sign. Let me ask you the following question. If I said, hey, if I'm thinking of two numbers in my head, and I've got two numbers in my, we're going to play guess Mr. Heron's numbers. At least one of them. Anyway, so the two numbers that are in my head, I'm going to times them, and the answer comes out 0. What do you know about one of my numbers?
0.
Yeah, why does that got to be?
Because it equals 0.
Jesse, right? Jesse?
Yeah.
Why does it got to be Jesse?
0. Wait, why is it got to be 0?
Yeah, well, why does one of them have to be 0?
So it can equal to 0?
Yeah. Because if you times two things, how do you get an answer of 0? One of them's got to be 0. Could it be the first one? Or could it be the second one? Or could it be either one?
Either one.
Either one, huh? It doesn't really matter. The first one could be 0 because 0 times anything can be 0. Or the second one could be 0, right? Because anything times 0 would be 0. Right? Isn't that true? Well, that's what this is saying to you. He's talking to you. Are you speaking equation with him? Getting better at speaking equation? He is saying, no. He is saying something, you know parentheses is multiply. So something times something equals 0. Two things are timesing to equal 0. That's what it's saying. Just like the little riddle I just did. Two things are timesing to equal 0. Right? So what did we just agree that means? Jesse was right. You guys were right. What does that mean? Yeah, that means the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. Isn't that reasonable? Like it was the second one? That's true, isn't it? If two things are timesing to equal 0, either the first one is 0, either one could be 0, huh? If the first one's 0, 0 times anything can be 0. If the second one is 0, anything times 0 would be 0. That's true. All right. So now we've got two little equations, don't we? Notice we have two equal. We went from 1 equals 0 to 2 equals 0, didn't we? We went from 1 to 2. So now, what do we do to finish solving each of those? How do I get, x wants to be alone, right? That's always what we're doing when we're solving. X wants to be alone. How do we get x alone there? Just add 7, or you can just jump it to the other side. Is that okay? Just jump it. The minus 7 jumps to the other side, becomes a positive 7, huh? The plus 8 jumps to the other side, becomes a minus 8. Those are my two answers. I'm done. They actually want you to type them in with a comma. Either order, doesn't matter which one's first or second. 7, comma, minus 8. Those are the two answers to this problem. Hey, let's go up real quick to the beginning and see that it's really true. What I mean is 7 really an answer? If x is 7, this is what we're saying x is, right? If x is 7, if I let x be, x can only be one thing at a time. So if x is 7, then it's 7 in both spots, right? Yes. Or if it's -8, it's -8 everywhere. So anyway, let's just start with 7. If I plug in 7 for x, if x really is 7, is that thing true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because 7 minus 7 is
0.
0 times, who cares?
And
0 times
zero.
anything, sure enough, is 0. 7 makes it true by making the first player 0. Right? And does -8 work? If I put in -8, do you see what happens to the second? If x is -8, the second term, -8 plus 8, is 0 times, who cares, is 0.
Minus 15 times 0.
See, both those answers work by making one of the two parts 0, don't they? And then they times to be 0.
26.
So those both are answers to that equation, aren't they? Does that make sense? We good? So what do we do when we have two parentheses equal 0? What do we do when we have two parentheses equal 0?
Solve if each parenthesis.
Each one gets their own 0, huh? We all see in the game plan there? So if you have two parentheses equal to 0, each one gets their own 0, don't they? And we know the reason why, because if two things times would be 0, either one could be 0. Okay, good. Okay, try that one. X plus 2, x plus 19, in parentheses, equals 0. So 2 parentheses equals 0. What does that mean logically? I'm going to dive in. So what do you do when you have 2 parentheses equals 0? Each one gets their own 0, huh? Because if two things times to be 0, either one could be 0, huh? So bump the 2 over. Bump the 19 over. What are the answers? Minus 2 minus 19. There we go. Is there a way we could save time? And just jump right to the answer?
Yeah.
It's just put the or the opposite down.
It's just going to be the opposite, right? Y'all seeing that, right? Just whatever you got in the parentheses is going to be opposite, isn't it? Because they're each going to get their own 0, and then when it moves the other side, it switches sign. Right? Let's look back. Is that true here? See how we had negative 7 in the parentheses, the answer ended up regular 7. And positive 8 in the parentheses, the answer ended up negative 8. See how it's always just opposite because of this process, right? Because you set it 0 and move it over. So we'll just do that, huh? That easy? Questions on that one? Yeah.
This is solving quadratics or?
Yeah, solving. Yeah, solving quadratics. That's right. Okay, now, this one is slightly different.
No, I think it's 5.
This time we only have one parenthesis and then a 6x. So the 6x is the first term. It's not really a term, it's the first factor. So 6x equals 0 or x minus 3 equals. Same basic idea. It's just we don't have a parenthesis on the first one. But it's the same thought, isn't it? 6x is multiplying x minus 3 to equal 0. So either the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. That's logical, right? If two things are times, it's going to be 0. First one is 0 or the second one is 0. Okay, so what do I do to get... Now, in both cases, I want to get x alone. So, do I take this 6 and move it to the other side and say it's negative 6? No. Why is this one different? That's not what we do here, huh? It's multiplied, not added. Right? Everybody see that? You can't get rid of that 6 by adding or subtracting. It's times, isn't it? So how do you get rid of that 6 to get... Because we want to get x alone. That's always the goal, get x alone. How do we get x alone? You got to divide, right? When we get things alone, we always do the opposite of whatever's there, right? So to get rid of a number multiplied by x, you got to divide. To get rid of a number subtracted, we add, right? So we always do the opposite. So divide by 6. That gets rid of it. X is alone. Now what is 0 over 6? 0. Yeah, 0 in the top fraction is just 0, huh? That good? And then jump the minus 3 over. Plus 3. So our two answers are 0 and 3. Hey, are they both right? Let's go up and check them. You don't have to check them, but I just like you to see it's true what we're doing. If you plug in 0 for x, remember x can only be one thing at a time. If x is 0 in both cases, is this thing true? Is 6 times 0 times, whatever that is, negative 3, is that 0? Yeah, 6 times 0 is 0. Times whatever is still 0. Right? It's true. 0 is making that thing true. 0 is a valid answer, huh? And is positive 3 also a valid answer? If x is positive 3, is the thing true? Because it makes that last piece 0, right? So yeah, they're all going to multiply to be 0. If any one of the pieces becomes 0, they all multiply to be 0, don't they?
Okay,
So it's good.
Is 0 dash 10.
This good? All right.
We have to do the answer in a parentheses or just?
No parentheses. No, just with a comma. No parentheses. Either order. You could put 3 first, then 0. Yeah, no parentheses. It's not a graphing point. It's just two separate answers. Either order. Good. All right, try that one. So we have two parentheses, two things timesing to equal 0. So what does that mean? The first one is 0 or the second one is 0. We good? Good so far?
I got that far.
Okay. Now, in both cases, we got to get x alone. So how do we get x alone here? Jump that over. Becomes positive 7 when it goes to the other side like that. Regular 7. And what's the last step to get x alone in that first one? Got to divide. 7/6. Everybody see what happened there? Not good? So the minus 7 jumped to the other side, becomes positive 7. And the last step is to divide. Whenever you get a number times x, you got to divide. Get rid of it, right? Not good. Then the second one's going to be the same thing. What's going to happen when that 7 jumps to the other side? Negative 7. Last step to get x alone? Divide by 8. So the answers are 7/6 and minus 7/8 in either order with a comma between them.
Is it always going to be written in properly?
Yeah, we'll just leave it that way. We don't need to change it to mixed number or anything. Yeah, just leave it like that. Is that good? Questions on that one? We good? No questions? Okay, try that one. Solving for x still. All right, so set each one equal to 0. Okay, what do we do? Got to get x alone, huh, in both cases? So x alone, so jump this 0.6 over, becomes negative 0.6. Jump the 1.3 over, negative 1.3. Done and done. So the two answers are negative 0.6, negative 1.3. Either order with a comma between them. Nothing more to do. That's good? We happy? All is well. Here we go. Things have just changed. Why? What's different about this one? There's no parentheses. Right? All the last ones had parentheses. There's no parentheses here. What should we do? Just break out. Yeah. What should we do? What's that? Yeah. Can't we just get our own parentheses? By what will get our own parentheses? Christina, what will get our own parentheses? The bow tie. Right? Shelby's bow tie method. Just do the bow tie thing. This is why we practice all that. You didn't think this was going to be like totally unrelated to what we've been doing the last 2 weeks. Right? This is more of the same. Bow tie it. Yeah, bow tie the left side and you'll have your two parentheses and then just finish it like we've been doing. So this is just like the last 5 problems, except you got to get your own parentheses with a bow tie in the first step. All right, so we'll continue with the bow tie. So what do? We do our bow tie thing. Right, my bow ties are looking better. So bow tie, and we're going to multiply to be negative 48, add to be 2. All right. Oh, and I forgot to put, you're supposed to put an x here and an x there, huh? All right, so if you're not sure, you can take the 48 over in the side of your paper with your calculator, divide by 2, divide by 3, divide by 4, divide by 5, divide by 6. If you divide by 2, you'll get 24. Can 2 and 24 add to be plus 2? No way. 2 and 24 can't do that. Divide by 3, you'll get, 16? Can 3 and 16 do it? Can they add to be 2? Add or subtract to be 2? No way. Divide by 4, that'd be 12. Can 4 and 12 make 2? No way. Divide by 5, it doesn't even go. Divide by 6, it's 8. You go, oh yeah. 6 and 8, huh? Or 8 and 6. It doesn't matter what order. 6, 8, 8, 6, whatever. But the signs do matter, huh? Which way do we do the signs? What's my handy-dandy saying that sings in your mind like a great commercial all day long?
Bottom sign, something.
Bottom bigger.
Oh, yeah.
It's really not all that catchy, is it? But bottom bigger. Bottom bigger. The sign on the bottom always goes on the bigger, huh? Bottom bigger. So plus in the bottom, plus on the bigger, 8, and then minus on the 6. Huh? 8 minus 6 makes plus 2, and they multiply to be negative 48, don't they? So that's my two, right, so now where's my parentheses? It's these two, so x minus 6, and these two, x plus 8. Keep the equal 0, right? Don't lose that equal 0. Good?
Okay.
And now we do what we've been doing in the last 5 problems. Now that we got our own parentheses, see, that's what the bow tie does for you. It gets you the parentheses. So now you know what to do, right? If two things are timesing to be 0, the first one is 0, or the second one is 0. Jump it over, positive 6, negative 8. So our answers are 6 and negative 8. Basically, it's going to be the two numbers from the bow tie opposite.
You have to go all the way there.
You see that? There it is.
Oh.
That good? Putting together what we learned last week with the new times them together equals 0 thing? Is that all making sense? No, that means we solved this equation. Is it right? Let's check it. Not required at all, but just, I think, kind of good to see. If you put in a 6 for x here and here, remember x is only one thing at a time. So if x is 6, is that true? What is that? What is 6 squared?
36.
36. And 2 times 6?
12.
Plus 12. What's 36 plus 12?
48.
48. Take away 48?
0.
See, it's true, isn't it? See how 6 makes that equation true? It works. Does negative 8 work also? Any guesses?
Yeah.
Let's try it. Negative 8. What if you put in negative 8 here? What's negative 8 squared?
64.
64, right? 64. Plus 2 times negative 8?
16 plus.
Minus 16. Negative, right? Positive times negative.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Minus 16.
And then minus 48. What is 64 minus 16?
48 plus.
48 minus 48, sure enough, equals 0. See how both 6 and minus 8 plugged in make the thing true? They're the only two numbers that make it true. How did it know that? Like, how did it work out? Well, it's all that we've learned about the bow tie and each with two things multiplied to be 0. It's logic. It's logic played out. That's what it is. It's logical steps perfectly followed. So of course those answers are right. Make sense what we're doing? We're finding what x values make an equation true by doing the bow tie, and then if two things times to be 0, each one should be 0, huh? Either one should be 0, I should say. We get our answers. All right. How do you, in general, how do you do problems like this? First off, what do I mean by problems like this? Like what? X squared with an equal sign. That's the kind of problems we're looking at. If you have x squared and you have an equal sign, what do you do? This is something, by the way, that you keep doing in higher math. I was reminding my pre-calculus students of this morning. I was saying we ran into a problem that had x squared with an equal sign, and most of them knew what to do, but some were not exactly sure, so I reminded them, what do you always do when you got x squared with an equal sign? Well, step 1 is you get a 0 on one side. We've already got the 0. Sometime in a minute, they're gonna move stuff over there so you don't have a 0. And we'll have to get our own 0. Step 2, factor. Which means GCF or parentheses. And step 3, each equals 0 and solve. There it is. There's the game plan for solving when you have x squared with an equal sign. So copy those down and let's methodically follow those steps every time. So first step, get a 0. We've already got a 0. Second step, factor. Now how do you factor? Let me give you a second. So to factor this, we take out an x, 1 parenthesis, huh? Whenever you do GCF, you have 1 parenthesis instead of 2. All right, so what goes in there? X, there's going to be 2 things in here. X times what? We'll go back to x squared. X, huh? And x times what? We'll go back to 81x. 81, we good? So there's step 2, factor, GCF. Step 3, each one gets their own 0 now, huh? Right? We reason that out logically. If 2 things times to equal 0, either one could be 0 to make them times and be 0. So the x alone first is 0, or the second one is 0. Is that good? And then bump the 81 over. Minus 81. So the answers are 0 and minus 81. Either order, doesn't matter, just a comma between them. Is that good? That means if I plugged in 0 in that original equation, it would make it true. And that's kind of obvious. We should have guessed at that. 0 squared equals 0, that's going to be 0, yeah. But so does the minus 81. That'll actually work as well. We good there?
Oh, yes.
Do you see that it worked? You guys want me to show you? If you put in 0, see how it's true? 0 squared plus 81 times 0, 0 plus 0 is 0. So 0 clearly works. How about the minus 81? It actually does. Let me show you. If you put in minus 81 squared, and this plus 81 times minus 81. See how this would be negative, whatever 81 times 81 is? And this would be positive, whatever 81 times 81 is? So they'd be 0, wouldn't they? See how it's true? Math is always true. Is that good? Okay, so there it is. Follow the 3 steps. So what's the first step? Get a 0, right? So I'm giving you a 3-step process. Make sure you follow right on through, right? Follow exactly what it says. So step 1, get a 0. How do you do that? You grab the 28 and you jump it to the other side. Is that good? So then that'll be x squared minus 3x minus 28. Is that good when something jumps to the other side? Switches signs. So minus 28. Step 2, so that was step 1 there. Step 2, factor. Now you're supposed to ask for GCF first. Is there a GCF? Do they all have x? No. X doesn't go into all of them. There's not a number they all have. So there's no GCF, so then we go right into the bow tie, don't we? So I'll go right to the bow tie. All right, so to do the bow tie, you say what multiplies and adds. What multiplies to be minus 28 adds to be 3. Put the x here and the x there, right? So what times what's 28? 4 and 7, right? You should calculate if you're not sure. 4 and 7, exactly. So 4 times 7. And what signs do we need? Yeah, sign on the bottom goes on the bigger, huh? -7 plus 4. Either order, but plus on the 4. Negative on 7. These two make x plus 4. These two make x minus 7. We good there? Now, keep the equal 0. Like that. We good? Now, what do we do from here?
Get each parenthesis to 0.
Each one gets their own 0. So that's step 3. Each one gets their own 0. There's the factor step. Each one gets their own 0 and solve. So to solve, you jump the 4 over, -4, jump the 7 over, +7, huh? There's the two answers, -4 and +7. Thanks, Shelby, for climate control. We good? Questions on that one? Okay, there's number 9. Let's try number 9. Go through those same steps. All right. So step number 1 is to get a 0. So I'm going to multiply here. 3x squared minus 16 minus 6x,
You put it like this.
and jump the 16 over.
It's easier.
Yeah, but then you still have 3x on the side here. When you multiply that in like your formula, you'd get 9x squared.
What do you mean?
So comparing it to the, I think it was number 3
Yeah,
that
you
you
still
guys
keep the
did,
2.
but when the 6x
Oh,
was
it's
in
the
front,
same.
you didn't distribute that.
What number?
Okay, and then here.
I think it was number 3 that you guys did.
Yeah, because it factored out.
Now,
And is it because it was equal to 0
so this
already?
3
That.
can go with this.
This one?
No, wait.
There. Yeah. So the deal with that one's already factored. Yeah, that one's already in factored form. We've already got the parentheses. Yeah, you're exactly right.
So this would become just
So,
x, 'cause if we
so is everybody seeing where we're at here? Is this good so far? So step 1, I got a 0. I multiplied this out. Now, remember, bow tie's harder when you have a number in the front. Remember how to do bow tie?
Oh, yeah,
You got to take that number in the front and multiply it to the back.
both of those to 0.
Remember that? You can't just leave it there in the front. So when you multiply 3 times minus 16 is minus 48, and then the middle number is still your add. Add to be minus 6.
How did you get -6?
-6?
Or -6?
Say it.
-6x, how did you get that?
I was just multiplying.
Minus 2.
Oh yeah, no, what am I doing? I'm totally crazy. It's not minus 6. Thank you. Minus 2x.
I did it
Thank
before
you.
like that, and she told me it was different.
Are we good to there?
How'd she get 6?
Yeah, I messed up with that 6. Yeah, this shouldn't be 6. Sorry.
That's 2.
Sorry, I'm all messing up. You're right. You're right. Is everybody good so far? Sorry, I messed up. So x times 3x is 3x squared. X times 2, 2x. Move the 16 over. And then when you do bow tie with the number in the front, it's got to multiply the back number, remember? We never leave a number in the front. It multiplies the back number. You write it right there, minus 48. You multiply. And then you only put on the sides the x and the x, huh? Is that good? Because the 3 is no longer there. It moved to the back. You tracking with me? Now, you've got to find two numbers that multiply to be 48. It's going to be 6 and 8, huh? It's going to be 6 and 8. 6 times 8 is 48. How do their signs go? Bottom bigger. So minus on the bottom, minus on the 8, plus 6. Minus 8 plus 6. We good there? So far, so good. Oh, wait a minute. Am I doing this wrong? I'm kind of new to the bow tie method too, as you know. It's supposed to be 3x. We need Shelby here to tell us.
It's 3x.
It's 3x and 3x, huh? Sorry. Like I said, I'm new to the Bowtie Method too. So yeah, they've got to both be 3x. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
You have to use the one.
Would you
Yeah.
simplify one and leave the other like it is? This takes so good to that. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's right. I can just tell what's going to happen. You know. So you have to leave that 3x. That 3x that's in the front, you have to leave it on both. Even though it did multiply. It's got to be there and there. Yeah, okay. So now, do you know how to finish from here now? It's a lot harder when there's a number in the front, huh? So right here, remember these two? What do? Divide by 3. Divide by 3. So we divide by 3 and divide by 3 because 3 goes into both of them, huh? Right? So we get x plus 2. Good. Divide them both by 3. And these other ones, just bring them down. 3x minus 8. Is that good? See how we did that? He's fanning himself. All right. So, okay, now we're not done. This is what's weird. Usually we're done here, huh? That's what's a little confusing. I don't think you'll have any trouble in the test because you'll look down and see the multiple choice answers, have more to them. You go, oh, yeah, that's right. I got to finish. So, equal 0. Don't forget the equal 0. Because we have the equal 0, that means there's more to do. What do you do now? So that was all step 2. That was the big step. Factor. So that was all the factoring step. Now step 3, what do we do? Yeah, each one equals 0. So x plus 2 is 0. 3x minus 8. They each get their own 0, huh? And then jump it over. And jump it over. 8, right? It becomes a positive 8. How do you finish getting x alone in that one? Divide by the 3. So the answers are negative 2 and 8/3. Can you all read that? I'm kind of getting scribbly down here. Minus 2 and 8/3. And we're done there. Is that okay? Remember that? It's good review for the bow tie. We're having the test a week from now on bow tie and all that stuff. So it's good to review on the harder bow tie ones. Is everybody seeing what we do then? So when we have a number in the front, we need to multiply at the back. Write it up here on the top, and then 3x. And then these two are both divisible by 3. So we do that. We divide them both by 3. Like that. Isn't that good? All right. Let's try that one. Go through the same 3 steps. So step 1, get a 0. We've already got that. Step 2, factor. Now, how do you factor? What's the first thing you always try with factor? GCF. What do they both have? X. Put it in the front. Put 1 parenthesis, right? Just 1. At first, anyway. And then what's on the inside? Whatever works. Here's what I mean by that. Just everybody watching up there. X times what will go back to 36x cubed?
36x squared.
36x squared, huh? And then, right? Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
So it's just multiplying backwards. You're just asking what would multiply. And x times what would go back to minus x?
Minus 1.
Minus 1. We good so far? Now, are we done there? With the factoring, I mean. No.
X equals 0.
This piece right here wants to factor further. What is it? It's one of Mr. Heron's favorite restaurants. I do like McDonald's, but it's not my name. Yeah, it's a double-double.
Double.
It's In-N-Out Burger. It's a double-double there. Do you see it? Do you see that that's a double-double? Why? What twice is this? 6x times 6x. How's 1? 1 times 1. It's a double with a minus. Right? So whenever, now that x in the front's still there. Don't forget about him. But then remember what you do when you see double? You put 2 parentheses. Remember we had a whole segment. That was the Thanksgiving homework, right? And you take the 2 items that made the left, and you go left, and take the 2 items that made up the right, and go right. And then what signs do you need to make -1? 1 positive, 1 negative, either order doesn't matter. Right? Because positive times negative is negative. Huh? Positive 1 times -1 is -1. Remember the double? So this is like a good review. They're throwing everything we've learned in this chapter in there. All the different factoring techniques. We're going to have 3 answers in this time. Yes. So that was all step 2, factor. Now step 3 is what? Each one gets their own 0. This time we have 3 things. What if I said, hey, I'm thinking of 3 numbers, and they multiply and it comes out 0? Well, same thing. Any one of them could be 0, right? To make them times and be 0. So each one. So the x alone could be 0.
Yes.
The 6x plus 1 could be 0.
Yep.
And the 6x minus 1 can be 0. How we doing? Can you all see that okay? Are we good with that? Make that a little bigger. Right? And then just solve. Just solve. So x equals 0 is done. Move the 1 over. -1, 6. Move it over. +1. There we go. 0. -1, 6. And +1, 6. Any order, just list the 3 of them with commas. How we doing? You remembering all that stuff? Questions I can answer on that one? So we're reviewing all of our factoring here. That's why this is a good section. It's like a review section almost. Reviewing double, bow tie with the number in the front.
This one.
Good? No questions?
Double.
Okay. What's up with that one?
There's a triple. We have to resolve for 0 again. We multiply everything, no?
No, we don't want to multiply it. We've already got parentheses. We don't want to lose those parentheses. We don't like them.
Oh, we do both sides on the other side.
The only thing is we first have to simplify the x squared guy. This guy will break down again. Yeah, don't mess with the front one. We like the parentheses. It's like we're halfway there.
Yeah, the 4x squared minus 5 is...
But this guy needs to break down first. We've got to bow tie him.
So here,
Right? He'll break down. So the 4x minus 5 is going to be there. He's not going anywhere. We like him. But bow tie the other part.
16 times 25. I don't know. What happened to my calculator? Yeah. Oh my God. You don't have it. 400. I know, 400. This is easy. 400 plus.
Everybody see what I did there? I took that 16 in the front and I multiplied the 25 in the back and I got 400. right? Remember that?
Yes.
And then I put 16x in both bow ties. And now you need your handy dandy calculator. Take that 400 and just start dividing by number. Divide by 2, divide by 3, divide by 4, divide by 5. I don't know, those might be way too small. Yeah, you're probably going to need, I would probably jump to 10. I'd probably start at 10. 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Oh yeah, it's 2020, isn't it? 2020, nice. So it's 20, 20. What signs do we need?
Minus and minus.
Both minus, huh? To add to be negative 40 and 2 negatives multiplied to be positive 400.
So it's 4x minus 5 squared.
Can you so I'm going to divide both of these by 4. Because you got to divide by whatever goes into them. So both of those are divisible by 4, aren't they? Right? So 16 divided by 4 is 4x. Negative 20 divided by 4 is negative 5. These also are divisible by 4. It's going to be 4x minus 5. And then bring down this one. So they're all 4x minus 5. Look at that.
Oh, God.
What do we do next?
We simplify the...
We set every one of them equal to 0, but that would be redundant. It's the same thing 3 times. So just set one of them equal to 0 and solve it.
5 fours.
They're all the same, exactly. Just move the 5 over. Divide by the 4. There it is. There's only one answer. It's the same for all 3.
You don't put 3 answers, just one?
No. Yeah, just 5/4.
That's another note.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, because I was about to put 5 4, 5 4, 5 4.
That would be like stuttering or something. We're not going to do that. Does that make sense? No, we don't repeat the same answer.
Crazy, yeah.
Watch me go to my math lab and like, no, we want all the answers.
Oh, yeah. And then...
All right, same kind of thing. See how they're already in the parenthesis stage for us? So no, I don't think it is, no. Take that second one and do a bow tie on it. So it's another bow tie. There's no tricks on this one. Looks like you guys are getting better and better at the bow tie. So bow tie. So the 2 has to multiply the back. So minus 14. And right here's the they have to add to be minus 13. Put the 2x and the 2x. All right, so what are the 2 numbers that multiply to be 14?
1 times 14.
1 times 14, huh? Yeah. And what sign? Sign on the bottom goes in the bigger.
Negative.
So plus 1 minus 14. Right. Now, the first 2, does it, remember, you try to divide them, right? Does anything go into 2x plus 1?
Yes, the 2.
No, not the way I have it.
No.
But just bring those down. And then does anything go into those 2?
2.
Yeah, divide them both by 2. That leaves x minus 7. And then bring down the 5x plus 2. Is that good?
Yes.
And then they each one get their own 0 and solve, huh?
Yeah.
That good? So then the first one, 5x plus 2 is 0. The second one, 2x plus 1 is 0. The third one, x minus 7 is 0. Move it over. Minus 2. Divide by 5. And move it over. Divide by 2. And move it over. So there's the 3 answers. Minus 2/5, minus 1/2, and 7. 3 answers. Yeah, Alfred.
You don't make anything decimal?
No, just fractions. Just leave as fractions. That good? Are we good on that? I walked around. Looks like I think you're all good. Okay, let's try that one. All right, let's take a look. So step number 1, get a 0. So I'm going to jump that 20 over there. And we get 20x squared minus 9x minus 20. Then we're going to do our big bow tie thing. And you're going to put 20x like that. And then you multiply the 20 in the front times the minus 20 in the back, get minus 400. And the minus 9 is add. Now you got to find the pair of numbers that will do that. That's easier said than done, huh? So you got to take that 400 and you got to try dividing by things. And if you divide and divide and divide, you'll eventually find that when you divide by 16, you get 25. So 16 and 25, that's your pair of numbers. Sign on the bottom goes on the bigger. Right? Plus 16 minus 25 makes minus 9 on the bottom. We good there? See how that's right? Now, we all good to there? Now we need to reduce this. How do we reduce this thing? What do we do to reduce this thing? So these two, you ask yourself, what goes into both? It's kind of like a sideways fraction or something. You want to reduce the fraction. You know what I mean? It's like reducing a fraction. What can I divide into 20 and into 16? What's the biggest thing? 2 goes in, but the biggest number is 4. Divide them both by 4. So divide by 4, divide by 4. What does that give us? 5x plus 4. And then whatever answer you get here, remember that's what you divide the other 2 by. Remember we discovered that? Divide both them by 5. That would be 4x minus 5. Is that good? Equals 0. Now we finish them up. Each one gets their own 0. And then jump it over. Divide by 5. Jump it over. Divide by 4. There it is. Minus 4/5 and regular 5/4. We're done with that one. How are we doing? Getting better and better at the bow tie thing? That was a pretty hard bow tie one there. So this is good practice. This is fine-tuning your skills for a week from now, the test. That good? No questions on that one? So the majority of the work is what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks. It's all the factoring, huh? Okay, try that one. It's the same thing. This bow tie ones are challenging, aren't they?
Yeah. Trying to get them.
So, take the 5 and multiply the minus 42 in the back there. So that's minus 210. And they add to be minus 29. And so then, and then you put the 5x here, and the 5x there. Right, 5x on both sides. And then, after having done all that, what do? You go over on the side of your paper, and you say, okay, I'm going to take the 210, and I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 3, divide by 4, divide by 5. So if you divide by 2, you get, what's that, 105? And you ask yourself, can 2 and 105 add or subtract to be negative 29? No way, they're not even close. So I hope I'm not losing you on how you actually find the pair, because that's the trick a lot of times. Everybody tracking with me. So if I start with, so you see how you do this, right? When you have a really hard number like 210, just put it on the side, divide by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And then every time you get an answer, ask yourself, does that pair, can it add or subtract to be negative 29? No way. 105 and 2, they're not going to add and subtract to be 29, not even close. Divide by 3 would be 70. Can 3 and 70 add or subtract to be 29? Not even close. Divide by 4, it doesn't even go to decimal. Divide by 5, is it 42? No. 21. It is 42. It is 42. So, can 5 and 42 add or subtract to be 29? No way. Divide by 6, and you get what, 35? Can 6 and 35 add or subtract to be 29? Yeah. That's your pair. 6 and 29, not 29, 6 and 35. Sign on the bottom goes on the bigger. Everybody see that? So plus 6 minus 35 adds to be negative 29, and you know they multiply to be negative 210 because they came from 210. So everybody seeing how I'm doing that? Is that okay? It's a little tedious. Are you able to do these hard ones? Okay. So now, these first two, does anything, now we try to reduce them like sideways fractions. Does anything go into 5 and 6? No. So just bring it down. 5x plus 6. These two, does anything go into 35 and 5?
5.
Yeah, divide them both by 5. That leaves x minus 7. And there it is factored. Right? Because we have an equal sign, we have to keep going, huh? This is where we used to stop when with the bow tie. We would just stop when we got to the parentheses, done. But because we have the equal sign, we keep going. So 5x plus 6 equals 0. They each get their own 0. Move it over. Minus 6 divide by 5. Move it over. Positive 7. So minus 6/5 and regular 7. There's our two answers. How are we doing? Is this okay? Questions on that one? This one? Okay, what's the first step on every factoring problem? GCF, right? You look at these three and you say, what do they all have? X. And remember, you just do the X. Do I do this? Do I do like the 2 parentheses right away?
No, you do one big.
One big one. Remember, whenever we do GCF, we do 1 parenthesis. 2 comes later. Right? We good with that? You just do 1 big parenthesis at first. And how do you know what goes in there? Whatever works. It's going to be 3 things. X times x squared, x times minus 12x, x times plus 35, huh? So you do that first, and then you finish. Then you bow tie the other parts. So do the bow tie. So it's x, what multiplies? There's no number in the front this time, is there? I mean, so we don't have to do anything with that. So we just say, what multiplies to be plus 35 adds to be minus 12. Is that good? So what to now? So take it off to the side. Take 35. Remember how this works? Take your 35. Use your calculator. and divide by 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you divide by 2, it doesn't even go. Divide by 3, it doesn't even go. Divide by 4, it doesn't even go. Divide by 5, you get 7. Can 5 and 7 do the 12? Yeah. That's your pair. 5 and 7. Now, be careful on the signs. Careful on the signs. What signs do they need to make the minus 12? Both negative, right? If you lose $5 and lose $7, you've lost $12, huh? And the two negatives multiply to be positive. So that's correct, isn't it? That good? So now we can finish the factoring. So these two, x minus 5, these two, x minus 7. But don't forget that x in the front. That was part, that we took out the x on the first step. Remember the GCF we took out in the first step? That good? Okay, so now how do we finish from here? Yeah, each part equals 0, huh?
Yep.
So the x alone equals 0. The x minus 5 equals 0. The x minus 7 equals 0. This one's done. This one, move the 5 over. Positive 5, move the minus 7 over. Positive, so the answers are 0, 5, and 7. All positive, huh? 0, 5, and 7. That's good? It's making good sense? All right, there we go. Let's try this one. Okay, we're doing well here. What's step number 1?
Go to 0.
Get a 0. So jump this over, and it becomes minus 4x, right? When it jumps to the other side. So that's step number 1, get a 0. Step number 2, factor. Now, what's the first thing we try with factoring?
Find GCF.
GCF. What's in common? What goes into both of those? Yeah, what do they both have? X, huh? So take out the x. Remember, you always do one parenthesis when you do GCF, not two yet. What's left inside? Whatever works, right? You just say x times what will go back to 9x squared.
9x.
And x times what will go back to minus 4x.
4.
Good, that makes sense? Now it's all factored. We don't have to do bow tie or anything like that because there's no longer an x squared. Does everybody know what I mean? Oh, if this was x squared, I would think about doing something more. It would be double, yeah. But since nothing is squared, I'm done. Just go on to step 3. Each one gets their own 0. So the x alone gets 0. The whole 9x minus 4. Right? Because the two things times to equal 0, either one could be 0. So then finish that up. Move the 4 to the other side. Divide by 9. So the answers are 0 and 4/9. Are we good? Does that make sense?
He's all, I'm grown.
All right, let's try that one. You know what I found over 25 years of teaching? Step 1 is always to get a 0, huh? So to get a 0, you got to get rid of everything on the right side. So minus 29 plus 21x minus 29 plus 21x. Gonzo. 0, huh? Is that good? So we get a 0. That's been step 1 all night. Get a 0. So we get a 0 by doing the opposite of everything on the right side. Okay, what do we have on the other side now? We have 5x squared. What is that? Plus 29x minus 39, 42.
Minus 42.
Yeah, so now we do the bow tie. Or we remember this is one we just did. I'll do the bow tie. 5x. 5x. We good? And then 5, you got to multiply the front times the back, minus 210. And adds to be 29. Remember this one? Is it coming back to you? Adds to be 29?
Yeah. 6 times 35.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this is one. It's going to be, yeah, what if you take the 210 over here and you say 210 divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4, divided by 5, divided by 2, you'll get 105. No way they can make 29s. Divided by 3, you get 70. No way. Divided by 4, it doesn't even go. Divided by 5, 42. No way. Divided by 6, 35, and that's it. 6 and 35. Sign on the bottom goes on the bigger. Plus 35 minus 6. Is that good? And then you take these two. What divides into 5 and 6? Nothing. So you bring down 5x minus 6. Take the other two. What goes into 5 and 35? 5, right? 5 goes into both of them. This is x plus 7 equals 0. So now we just set each one equal to 0. So 5x minus 6 is 0, or x plus 7 is 0. Move over the minus 6. 5x is 6. Divide by 5. 6/5. Negative 7. 6/5. Negative 7. Look at that.